The United States Navy League Twin Cities Council is engaged in the most monumental project it has undertaken to save the heavy cruiser USS Newport News from suffering the fate of similar vessels, that of the salvager's cutting torch. No American cruiser in her original configuration has been saved. Many Navy cruisers have been disposed of through salvage, and with them, a piece of American history has disappeared forever. Examples of ships suffering this fate were the USS Milwaukee, Minneapolis, St. Paul, and Duluth. These ships were sold for scrap and their steel recycled after serving their nation so well in peace and war. The USS St. Paul fired the last shot of World War II and the Korean conflict. The mission of this project is to preserve a piece of American history by providing a permanent home for the retired Navy cruiser USS Newport News in the twin ports of Duluth Superior and the Superior waterfront. The Twin Ports is the largest inland port in the world, and its shipyards built many Navy ships during the 1940s. It was through the Twin Ports that much iron ore from the Mesabi Range was shipped to eastern United States steel mills and formed into steel plates. American labor fabricated the steel plate into this historic vessel at the shipyard of Newport News, Virginia. Rarely is any organization given the opportunity and privilege to receive a transportable, ready-made, major tourist attraction that can serve as a veterans memorial and also contribute to the revitalization and economic growth of the Midwest. We now have the opportunity within our grasp. All 5 of the Sullivan brothers were lost when the cruiser USS Juneau went down on November 13, 1942. Their fate led to a Navy policy change in assigning brothers to the same ship in wartime, and the Sullivans' DD-537 was named in honor of their memory and is preserved at Buffalo, New York. The United States, bound on both coasts by oceans, is by definition a maritime nation and must protect itself by a strong naval presence. Perhaps the greatest Midwest resource enjoyed by the Navy is the quality of the Midwestern citizens who chose to defend their nation by service in the United States Navy. We believe that a grateful nation will honor the veterans of the United States by joining with the Navy League to establish the USS Newport News Veterans Memorial Museum. The USS Newport News is the largest heavy cruiser ever built by any nation. She is 716.5 feet in length with a beam of 76.3 feet. Her fully loaded gross weight was 21,500 tons. The ship design was the culmination of all that was learned about ship architecture by experiences in wartime combat operations. She had a wartime complement of 860 officers and men, and as many as 500 Midwesterners served aboard the ship during her active service, from January 1949 to July 1975. In addition to annual cruises to the Mediterranean from 1950 through 1961, she served in major operations in the Caribbean and northern Atlantic Ocean. The Newport News served on peacekeeping missions as flagship for the 2nd and 6th Fleets and for NATO command exercises. The Newport News also served as flagship during the Cuban quarantine. When the Soviet missiles were dismantled and removed from Cuba, she assisted in the missile count. Operations from 1963 through 1967 consisted primarily of NATO exercises in the North Atlantic and gunnery and amphibious exercises off the eastern seaboard and the Caribbean. In September of 1967, she began a 6-month deployment of Southeast Asia, arriving off Da Nang on October 9, 1967, and firing her guns in combat for the first time as part of Operation Sea Dragon. Several deployments were conducted in the Southeast Asian waters. While operating as a fire support ship, providing interdiction fire support north of the demilitarized zone and naval gunfire support for Allied troops in South Vietnam, she suffered a major casualty. The Newport News had a shell and number 2 turret explode prematurely. All 16 men in the turret and 4 more in the ammunition handling area perished. An additional 36 sailors were injured by the fire and smoke following the explosion. As a result of the explosion, number 2 main battery was permanently damaged and never used again. Several repair plans were drawn up to replace the turret, but budget limitations precluded repair. After the many years of distinguished service, the USS Newport News was stricken in 1978, transferred to the surplus fleet for safekeeping, and is now available for release. Kings, queens, political personalities, and world figures have walked her teak decks as guests of the Navy. The ship is an existing chapter in American history and worthy of any effort to preserve her. Many Navy ship memorials have been developed throughout North America, and operate very successfully. They are a complement to their communities, and our project is joined with them to assist one another in the preservation, restoration, and exhibition of American history. It is not the purpose of this project to preserve the USS Newport News to worship inorganic steel. However, this floating structure of steel housed men who placed their lives in peril for their country. This ship is more than a hull, bulkheads, and superstructure. It was a place. It was a place to live, work, fight for freedom, enjoy fellowship, and for some, it would become the final place in life. It was a tangible piece of American homeland away from home, and the closest reminder to all for which one served. Not only a home to defend, it was an instrument by which those that would take away freedom might be repelled, a means towards a victorious end, and in the end, it was a conveyance that returned a sailor to his loved ones. In the twilight of their lives, veterans assemble with regularity to share again a unique period in history when they stood in the center of the world stage and helped shape the direction and destiny of their generation and future generations. All too soon, they will go the way of history's greatest fleets, but they will have bequeathed inspiring and impelling memories that will be their greatest memorial. This is at the heart of the project to preserve the USS Newport News.